So it is about our research symposium and the background of the symposium. So if you want, you can switch on the video if you have a higher signal strength. So let's begin the session. A very good afternoon to each and every one of you.
Good afternoon.
My name is Uday Ratnayaka, the coordinator of track number 1 of technical session of 5th CIPM International Research Symposium on HRM 2021. First and foremost, on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to once again warmly welcome you to the 5th CIPM International Research Symposium on HRM 2021, organized virtually considering the prevailing situation in the country and the world. Before commencing the track number 1 technical session, let me introduce the chairperson and co-chairperson of this session on the theme of this track about the new HRM trends in different industries. Today, our chairperson of the session is Dr. Richard Wickramaratne. He is a senior lecturer and also he is the head of the Department of Human Resource Management of Faculty of Management in the University of Peradeniya. His research areas are career self-management, commitment, career satisfaction, organizational change intervention, contemporary issues in HRM, employee engagement practices. And also, he's an author for several local and international publications. He is graduated from University of Kelaniya. Subsequently, he completed his master's degree from University of Sri Jagadhanpura, Sri Lanka. And he completed his PhD from Murdoch University, Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our chairperson of this session, technical session, track number 1, Dr. Richard Wickramaratne. Then, let me introduce our co-chair of the session. She is Dr. T.L. Sajivani. He is also a senior lecturer of the Department of Human Resource Management of Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce in the University of Sri Jagadhanpura, Sri Lanka. Her research areas are human resource management, strategic human resource management, interpersonal skills development, self and professional development, personal and social responsibility, and time management. She is also an author for several local and international publications. Also, she is graduated from University of Sri Jagadhanpura, Sri Lanka. Subsequently, she completed her master's degree in the same university, University of Sri Jagadhanpura, and completed her PhD from University of Colombo. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our co-chair of the session, Dr. T.L. Sajivani. Now I cordially invite Dr. Richard Wickramaratne to chair the session. Before that, a short notice for the audience. Please choose the raise hand option if you have any question, comments, or clarification regarding the paper presenters. We will unmute you according to the order you raise your hand. And otherwise, if you want, you can switch on your video if you have high strength signal power. Otherwise, you can switch off the video. But during your presentation time, you must have to switch on your video. Over to you, Dr. Richard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Uday Ratnayaka. Actually, you did a marvelous job getting everything done from us. You did a very great coordination. Co-session chair, Dr. Sajivani, and dear presenters. So let me congratulate all the presenters, those who are going to present today. And as you all know, the track theme is the new HRM trends in different industries. So as we all know, so in the classrooms, basically we teach and the students learn the HR practices in general. Therefore, I think this session provides a very good platform for us to have a fruitful discussion on HRM trends in the different industries. So without taking much time, so let me start the session, inviting the presenters. So let's go to the first presenter, paper ID 11, Asiri Indika. The topic is the impact of telecommuting on employee performance of executives in the telecommunication industry in Sri Lanka. The moderating effect of work-life balance and job satisfaction. Asiri Indika, over to you. You can start your presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sasiri Indika. I'm a DBA student of Lincoln University College, Malaysia. Today, I'm presenting a concept paper for impact of telecommuting on employee performance of executives in the telecommunication industry in Sri Lanka, mediating effect of work-life balance and job satisfaction. I will start my presentation with introduction, background to problem. As you know, the novel coronavirus pandemic is an unexpected situation for most of the organization in Sri Lanka. Many employees unexpectedly were required to work from home during this pandemic time period. Work from home, which is also referred to as telecommuting. In Sri Lankan context, telecommuting is new to many employees as they have to work from home for the first time. According to Tamidi LN 2015, telecommuting is referred to as telework, remote work, distributed work, virtual work, and flexible work, flex-based and distance work. According to Foslin and West Duffy 2020, telecommuting has affected even more people in unexpected ways. Problems such as sharing the home office with a partner, working around kids, complete loss of physical interaction, and inability to stick to a daily routine are experienced by more digital work tools. The supervising officers also face some difficulties to manage their employees who are not present in the office physically and to track their productivity. According to Aceh 2020, supported for employees working from home lead to higher job satisfaction and performance of the employees. According to Robinson 2010, telecommuting comes as a very viable option if the organization want to positively influence the employees' internal motivation, the quality of work performance, and job satisfaction. It is not possible to provide the telecommuting arrangement for all the staff members of the organizations. It depends on the type of work carried out by the employees and the IT skill level of the employees. Therefore, the researcher attempt to examine the relationship of telecommuting drives for employee performance via promoting a healthy work-life balance and job satisfaction for executive employees in the telecommunication industry in Sri Lanka. When you talk about the research objectives, primary objective is to examine the relationship between telecommuting and employee performance of executive employees in the telecommunication industry in Sri Lanka. Secondary objectives are: number one, to examine the relationship between telecommuting and work-life balance. Number two, to examine the relationship between work-life balance and job satisfaction. Number three, to examine the relationship between job satisfaction and employee performance. Number four, to examine the relationship between telecommuting and job satisfaction. Number five, to examine the relationship between work-life balance and employee performance. Number six, to examine the mediating effect of work-life balance on relationship between telecommuting and employee performance. Number seven, to examine the mediating effect of job satisfaction on relationship between telecommuting and employee performance. Number eight, to examine the mediating effect of work-life balance on relationship between telecommuting and job satisfaction. Number nine is to examine the mediating effect of job satisfaction on relationship between work-life balance and employee performance. When you talk about the research questions are developed based on the research objective. Therefore, again, there are two categories: primary research questions and the secondary research questions. I will not repeat the same thing again. And when you talk about the significance of the study, as you know, telecommuting is new to many employees who are working in Sri Lanka as they have to carry out the duties from home for the first time due to COVID-19 pandemic. These studies also provide the requirement of competitive work environment in the 21st century, such as work anywhere, anytime, any place. Research is expecting to propose best practices of telecommuting in order to promote good work-life balance for employees and highlighting the key benefits for the organizations. There are no extensive studies have been carried out to explore the impact of telecommuting on the work-life balance, job satisfaction, and employee performance of executives in the telecommunication industry in Sri Lankan context. There is a research gap on this area. Research is expecting to fill the below research gap through this study. Gap number 1, contextual gap. There is a contextual gap on the relationship between telecommuting and employee performance in the telecommunication industry in Sri Lanka. It was tested in some other countries, Lakshmi 2017, but not tested in Sri Lankan context. Gap number 2, again, the contextual gap. There's a contextual gap on the relationship between telecommuting and work-life balance in the telecommunication industry in Sri Lanka. It was tested in some other countries, Opayami 2019, but not tested in Sri Lankan context. Gap number 3, theoretical framework. There's no evidence in the past research were done with 4 variables such as employee performance, telecommuting, work-life balance, and employee job satisfaction to develop a theoretical framework in Sri Lankan context, and nobody has tested with above 4 variables. According to Mendis and Virakuri, 2018 has only identified the relationship between work-life balance, employee performance, and employee job satisfaction. Gap number 4 is population gap. The sample size was selected as 100 without following a proper scientific method to select the sample size of the population in the past research done in Sri Lankan context with theoretical framework of 3 variables of work-life balance, employee job satisfaction, and performance of employees. Therefore, there is a population gap existing in the prior research, Mendis and Virakuri 2018. Gap number 5, methodological gap. There's no evidence in the past research were done to develop a measurement scale to measure the telecommuting concept related to executive employees in the telecommunication industry in Sri Lanka. Therefore, there is a methodological gap. Gap number 6 is knowledge gap. There is no evidence found that testing of 4 variables such as telecommuting, employee performance, work-life balance, and job satisfaction, including 2 mediating variable of work-life balance, job satisfaction. Therefore, there is a knowledge gap existing in the prior research. And when you talk about the literature review, according to the Aceh, he found that work from home may lead to higher job satisfaction and efficiency. According to Khairuddin and Aziz, they found that there's a significant correlation between telecommuting and work-life balance among oil and gas industries in the East Coast region, Malaysia. According to Vidyo, Sorrento, and Amsa, they found that a good and reliable telecommunication system was found to have a positive and significant influence in the increasing the productivity of employees of the company. And according to the Mendis and Virakuri, they found there's a strong relationship between work-life balance and employee job satisfaction, and a strong relationship between employee job satisfaction and employee performance. Based on the literature, I have developed a conceptual framework. In my conceptual framework, there are 4 variables. Dependent variable is employee performance, independent variables is telecommuting, and 2 mediating variables, namely work-life balance and job satisfaction. Based on the conceptual framework, I have developed 10 hypotheses. Hypothesis 1 is there is a significant relationship between telecommuting and employee performance. Hypothesis 2 is there is a significant relationship between telecommuting and work-life balance. Hypothesis 3 is there is a significant relationship between work-life balance and job satisfaction. Hypothesis 4 is there is a significant relationship between job satisfaction and employee performance. Hypothesis 5 is there is a significant relationship between telecommuting and job satisfaction. Hypothesis 6 is there is a significant relationship between work-life balance and employee performance. Hypothesis 7 is work-life balance is mediating the relationship between telecommuting and employee performance. Hypothesis 8 is employee job satisfaction is mediating the relationship between telecommuting and employee performance. Hypothesis 9 is work-life balance is mediating the relationship between telecommuting and job satisfaction. Last hypothesis is employee job satisfaction is mediating the relationship between work-life balance and employee performance. When we talk about the methodology, I have developed a mind map to explain the methodology part of the research. In this research, philosophy is positivism, and research approach is deductive, and unit of analysis is individual executive level employees. Time horizon is cross-sectional studies. When we talk about the sampling design, under that population is executive employees in the telecommunication industry. Study population is executive employees of 3 major telecommunication companies. Sample size is 335 according to the Morgan table. And sampling technique, there are 2 techniques I have used. to select the 3 companies, I have used cluster sampling, and a simple random sampling will be used to get the final responses. When you talk about the data collection technique, I'm planning to develop a structured questionnaire with 5-point Likert scale, ranging from strong agree to strong disagree, and questionnaire will be distributed among the executive employees of 3 selected companies through online. When you talk about the data analysis, telecommuting is a new concept for the Sri Lankan context. Therefore, I had to redesign the questionnaire. Therefore, I have to check. I will conduct a pilot survey in order to check the consistency and the validity of the instrument. For that, I'm using a Combrac Alpha to check the internal consistency, and Chemo and SIG value to check the construct validity and the factor loading of the proposed survey instrument. And Pearson correlation and the regression analysis will be used for the hypothesis testing, and univariate analysis will be used to explain the descriptive statistics of the research. And these are my researches, the references. Thank you very much.
Mr. Asiri Indika, thank you very much for your presentation. Now the forum is open for questions and discussions. So audience can ask any questions for getting clarifications. Looks like no any questions from the audience. So let me ask a few questions for getting some clarification from my end. So your research, so you have tested the mediation effect. So what was the mathematical technique you have used to measure the mediating effect?
Actually, I used for the SPSS we use, and for the SPSS I first checked that the variables, we checked that with the normality, and after that we use actually now I am getting that because I have submitted as a concept paper. Now these days I am getting the responses. I'm planning to do. There are 2 techniques in the SPSS. There is a version called with I can't remember there's the plugin is there, and then we can do the analysis of the mediating effect. And another one is that it's called that I can't remember the name, that check the it's called that I couldn't remember the name, and we have to check that through through the internet. We have to check that the figures, whether that the mediating effect is there. But it's up to now I have not done that part, because when I submit the paper, I have not done the analytics part. That's why I'm not talk about that in the research paper. I have submitted as a concept paper. Now these days I am preparing the instrument. And
okay, thanks for that. And the one more thing. So what was your findings? If you explain in few words, what was your findings?
Yeah, actually the finding is they have earlier that the research, past research, they have said that there's a significant relationship, but I also get this, but not the significant, there's a weak relationship between the telecommuting and the employee performance. And also for the mediating effect, I have tested, but then fast research, they have find there's a mediating effect with the work-life balance, job satisfaction in between the work-life balance and the employee performance. But according to this research, there's a no mediating effect found based on that. I couldn't remember the name again. That I can tell that.
Okay, right. And one more thing now. According to your title, it's impact of telecommuting on the employee performance. But now when it comes to hypothesis are about relationships. So it's a little bit contradictory. Why is that? Because now relationship and impact are 2 different meanings in statistics.
Sorry, impact.
Yeah.
Then I have separated test the impact of the telecommuting and the employee performance.
Yeah.
And
So what
for the
was the technique? What was the technique you have used to measure the impact?
okay. I have
Because you
used that.
can't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have used that observed that curve that between the expected and telecommuting and the work-life balance. We have drawn a diagram and the regression analysis, and also we have drawn the let's call that plot analysis. The way that the distribution is there. According to that, we have found there's a linear relationship between the telecommuting and the performance.
Okay. But anyway, now when you go ahead with this research and now in future as well. So now, as I told you, now there's a clear difference between impact and the relationship. So
Okay.
when it comes to impact, you have to run regression, or maybe there are some other sophisticated techniques
I did
like.
the residual analysis to set the model fitness of the model for the dependent variable and the independent variable.
Okay.
According to that, I found that there's an impact is there.
But now the problem is now the hypothesis are about the relationships, but your title is impact, so it's contradictory. So you have to look into that when you go for a publication, right?
Okay, and
Okay.
I use the Sobel test to check the mediating effect.
Okay. Dr. Sajivani?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Remark. Yes, good afternoon, all of you. In order to manage our time, I will give few comments and ask from you one question. Based on your conceptual paper, can you conclude that using one sentence? What is your conclusion from your paper? What you can conclude?
There's a not a significant relation. There's a weak positive relationship between the employee performance and the telecommuting. And if you analyze the impact, there is only 3.7% of impact between the telecommuting and the employee performance. However, that when we go to the responses, because I have used one qualitative question, according to their responses, when you go to it, the major problem is there's no KPI mechanism to identify the performance of the subordinate. And other thing is some of the employees, they don't have required tools to do this telecommuting. But
Yes.
if we can provide this facilities
I asked
from
you to
the...
conclude by using one sentence, no? Okay, right. Yes, for your mediating analysis, you can follow Baron and Kenny's article. They are very clearly, they have mentioned how to test this mediating impact by using regression analysis, or you can even follow this structural equation model that we use in MOS to test this mediating effect. Or both you can test, right? So both test is okay, but you can clearly step by step by running a structural regression analysis as guided by the Baron and Penny. You can test mediating impact of these three variables and all other variables, because you have set your conceptual model based on independent, dependent, and two mediating variables, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
you can follow that method, Baron and Kenny's article. And apart from that, you can develop your conceptual, that means conceptual model by using existing literature, and you can sound that literature part also, because Sri Lankan context findings and global context very recent, and what is the situation relating to before this COVID-19 have, what are the factors they have faced, and whether they also have changed with this situation. Likewise, you can very critically analyze the existing literature and identify the situation. And there is another part to complete for this study. I wish you all the best for that part, and you can continue your academic life in this way. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Asiri, and also, simply you can't say there's a mediation effect. So you have to use a theory to support the mediation effect. So you have to look into that as well in future. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we can move on to the next presentation, number 19, PD Karunaratne. The topic is the relationship between perceived supervisors' trust and the job satisfaction of remote working employees. Evidence from a leading development firm in Sri Lanka. You can commence your presentation.
Everybody. Firstly, let me thank you in advance for your attention to my presentation. I'd now take you through my study on the relationship between perceived superiors' trust and job satisfaction of remote working employees. There's no doubt that everybody here have witnessed the sudden and significant shift of organizational work towards remote working due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Research during the past year have found that remote working will become the new normal for millions of employees worldwide. The extant literature on the factors affecting the job satisfaction of remote employees has mostly focused on the strategic level, with little research exploring the employee-experienced superiors' trust on them and its relationship with job satisfaction. The target entity of this study is a medium-scaled IT sector organization in Sri Lanka specialized in software development, which first adopted remote working in March 2020, and later, having realized the benefits associated with it, the top management is now planning to implement a long-term remote working strategy. Learning that remote working succeeds in a trust-based culture, the top management is keen to identify how the employees would value the perceived superiors' trust on them and its impact to the satisfaction of employees. With that, this study attempts to identify the relationship between perceived superiors' trust and job satisfaction of remote employees, and through the results, to support the target organization with the implementation of long-term remote working strategy. These are some selected literature which can be identified as closely related prior studies to the current research. The perceived superiors' trust is identified as the independent variable of the study, and this was measured using 4 widely identified perceived trust indicators: perceived autonomy, perceived empowerment, perceived support, and perceived fairness in performance review. The dependent variable of the study is job satisfaction of remote employees. The conceptual framework was developed as shown, and the hypotheses were developed based on the conceptual framework. Target population was 140 employees who are currently working remotely. Based on the Chrétien-Morgan's table for determining sample size, a sample of 103 was considered as sufficient to represent the population. Simple random sampling was used to select the sample, and a questionnaire was utilized as the main research instrument. 103 questionnaires were distributed through email, out of which 60 completed and returned for analysis. The collected data was analyzed using correlation coefficient in SPSS version 25. Scatter plots were drawn to identify whether there are associations between the perceived trust indicators and job satisfaction. To verify the positive associations identified from the scatter plots, Spearman's correlation test was conducted. The resultant 0.953 correlation coefficient between the overall perceived superiors' trust and job satisfaction indicated a large positive association between the independent and dependent variables. The findings revealed that there is a positive relationship between perceived superiors' trust and job satisfaction of remote employees. Out of the 4 perceived trust indicators, the perceived fairness in performance review showed the highest correlation with job satisfaction. It was revealed that the managers are trying to take a more flexible and reasonable approach with performance management since the employee started working remotely, such as evaluating the outcomes of work and target achievements rather than monitoring whether the employees appear online from 8 to 5. This reasonable approach is one reason for the witnessed higher correlation between perceived fairness in performance review and job satisfaction. However, the organization currently doesn't have a formally structured performance management mechanism that fits for a remote working context. Also, having majority of the sample belong to Generation Y, the employees are flexible and ready to embrace changes, and in return, they expect flexibility in terms of work as well. The long-serving employees are expecting higher levels of autonomy in the long run than the current perceived levels. Overall, employees are expecting an improved trust-based culture in the longer term if remote working to be continued. I'll now move on to the theoretical and practical implications of the study. This study enriches the knowledge of trust between superior and subordinate. The results try to fill the gaps of literature in felt trust of subordinates, the positive relationship between perceived superiors' trust and job satisfaction identified in a remote working context. Also, the results are derived from a study conducted in a developing South Asian country and on a fast-growing IT industry, which supports the global dispersion of this literature context. This study provides top management and HR practitioners an indication that employees' feeling of being trusted by their superiors has a positive relationship with job satisfaction in a remote working context. The need to cultivate a strong trust-based culture is implied along with the need to provide adequate autonomy and timely support to remote employees, and the need to shift to a remote results-based performance evaluation from traditional time-based reviews also came into light. Just as each research has its own limitations, worth noting the non-response rate of 41%. Also, this research was conducted during a short period of time, which restricted exploring further avenues within the scope. Also, this research has covered only one industry. Based on the outcomes of this study, I have the following recommendations to the target organization. The top management to review and revise the current performance management model and improve it to fit for a remote working context. The top management to cultivate a strong trust-based culture parallelly to the implementation of long-term remote working strategy. The T&D division to conduct trust and team building sessions for remote employees and their superiors. The middle management to ensure that employees are provided with continuous and uninterrupted technological support. The managers to ensure that remote employees are given adequate autonomy and timely support in the long run, and also to make sure that the employees are not feeling isolated. Overall, the top management to carefully review the perceptions of employees on being trusted by their superiors that they have expressed through the outcomes of this research in order to identify future avenues to keep the employees satisfied. Finally, these are my suggestions for future research. Not many research have conducted to examine the employee's felt trust and its effect on job satisfaction in a remote working context. So future research can be extended to examine this particular scope. Further research to cover remote employees in other industries, as there can be variations in preference of perceived trust indicators based on the nature of the industry, and also industry comparisons within the same context is a good research avenue. The findings of this study can be utilized to future research that explore reasons for dissatisfaction of remote working employees. The scope of this current research can be examined based on the demographical factors such as age, gender, marital status, tenure, and educational qualifications. Also, employing cross-national studies simultaneously to ascertain the relationship between perceived superiors' trust and job satisfaction would add to the existing knowledge base. Well, that brings me to the end of my presentation. I'd like to thank you again for listening.
Ms. P.D. Karunaratne, thank you very much for your presentation. Now forum is open for questions. Okay, shall I asking few questions? Okay, now you have chosen the IT industry, software development firms. So what's the reason for conducting a research in the software development industry?
Thank you, Dr. Richard. And so IT industry is one of the industries that has proved remote working to be successful because there are certain industries that remote working is possible and certain industries it is not possible. So IT industry is among the list where we can find remote working will be successful in the long run, and that has proved success during the past year.
Okay, now according to conference, the track theme, new HRM trends in different industries. So what's unique in your finding? I mean, have you found something new in with reference to IT industry?
Not specifically. I mean, like I have contributed to the remote working context, which will be kind of like new normal for in the long run with this current situation. So, so yes, I would have chosen many other industries, but with the time constraints and with the requirement of that organization, so my current research was restricted only to this industry, and I have a plan to, as I mentioned in the future research parts, I have a plan to extend this research into different industries and to do a industry comparison so that I can get a broader knowledge in the scope.
One more question. Now, if I ask a very simple question like, so when you go through international literature, there's plenty of research conducted in this area. So why did you select a Sri Lankan sample and conducted this study?
Actually, because we are kind of homebound now, and I mean, like this organization had this requirement. So, so as a kind of response or facilitating their timely requirement, I did this research to support the target organization.
Okay. Dr. Sajiani?
Thank you, Dr. Richard.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Richard. And Ms. Karunaratne, what's your good name? First name?
Duminda Karunaratne.
Okay. Ms. Duminda, you have done a study on this perceived supervisor trust, right, on employee satisfaction. Then based on that, assume that you are the head of this organization, selected organization, not about the whole industry. Then what are the actions you are taking after getting this type of study or the report for you?
Yeah, actually, based on the findings, it was revealed that the perceived fairness in performance review has a positive relationship, and it showed the highest correlation with the job satisfaction of remote employees. So I would first focus on that, reviewing the current performance management model or the mechanism and convert it to a more flexible mechanism or a model that would fit for a remote working context, and a model that employees would perceive that this is fair. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Other than that, do you think that employees are getting their ideas, their evaluation, their perceptions from selected employees regarding his or her immediate superior? Do you think that he or she revealed the actual or the correct information to you?
Because these responses are anonymous, so they have the freedom to express their perceptions about their trust relationship with their managers and how they perceive being trusted by their managers.
According to your information or the data collected, have you obtained some negative points regarding their supervisors?
Yes. That's why I wanted to extend this study based on demographical factors.
Now my next question goes to that. That means you are continuing this study?
Yeah, because, yeah. Yes, doctor. I have a plan because I could not analyze further based on the demographical factors such as age and the tenure.
Continuing, you can enrich this, but because you have only identified this relationship between these two variables, you can furthermore expand by taking some empirical and theoretical literature. As Dr. Richard mentioned, you can prepare some theory, applying theory and enrich. This may be the basic or the foundation level, and you can enhance this one. At this level, it's okay, but I think now we are discussing or talking about this, identifying the importance of strategic HRM, not only the human resource management. Their line manager's role is very critical, because in your study, supervisors mean maybe line managers.
Yes. Yes.
Managers.
Yeah.
So we can
True.
focus on that. So you can expand the study furthermore very nicely. And I wish you all the best for you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sajjan.
Thank you, Ms. Karunaratne. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Richard.
Dr. Richard, Dr. Sajivini, excuse me for a minute. Next, present the paper ID 25. She has not participated in the session, as she informed just a couple of minutes ago due to unavailable reason. But she has sent the video recording. So, what do you think? Shall we play the video and then you can comment? Then because they can hear your comments later, because this video is recording.
Okay, that's better, isn't it?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Anuradha Ittagoda. The title of my research project is Factors Affecting Employee Engagement, a study of ABC Bank PLC. The first author of this study is one of my PQ HRM students, Minoshi Silva, and due to unavoidable circumstances, she is unable to present her findings in this reputed symposium. Therefore, I, as her research supervisor, presenting her findings today. The key points you can see, first is introduction to the organization, second problem statement, research objectives, literature review, theoretical evidence, conceptual framework, hypothesis, research methodology, data analysis, discussion and recommendations, limitations, and last but not least, future studies. So you can see in this slide the research gap. This is a population gap, and that is there is no empirical evidence about the impact of high performance work practices, leadership, financial rewards, non-financial rewards, work-life balance, trust on the construct of employee engagement in the ABC Bank PLC. If I briefly explain about the organization that we have selected, that is a bank, public listed company, which is in Sri Lanka, and we didn't get permission to use the actual name of the bank for our research. So we are using it, ABC Bank PLC. Our primary interested variable is employee engagement. Employee engagement, we all know, that is the involvement of employees' involvement of head, hand, and heart for their job as well as for their organization. That is why every CEO's dream is an engaged employee. And also, employee engagement has become a buzzword in the management circles. And the main consequences of employee engagement are employee job performance and organizational financial performance. Anita in 2014, Ittagoda and Opatha in 2020 identified employee engagement consequence is one of the consequences employee job performance, and organizational financial performance is another consequence of employee engagement that is identified by the researchers like Harter et al. In 2002 and Ittagoda and Gunawardena in 2017. So this is the problem statement. What are the factors affecting employee engagement in ABC Bank PLC? These are the research objectives for this study. Let me read the first research objective: to identify the impact of high performance work practices on employee engagement. Second research objective: to identify the impact of leadership on employee engagement. Third, to identify the impact of financial rewards on employee engagement. Fourth, to identify the impact of non-financial rewards on employee engagement. Fifth research objective: to identify the impact of trust on employee engagement. Sixth research objective is to identify the impact of work-life balance on the construct of employee engagement. And we have done a thorough literature review, and you can see the definitions of several variables. And let me read the first definition for the employee engagement, which is the primary interested variable that is given by Ittagoda, Opatha, and Gunawardena 2016. That is, employee engagement is the extent of cognitive, emotional, and behavioral involvement of an employee in their job as well as in the organization. Due to time constraint, I'm unable to read all the other definitions for other constructs or the variables. And when it comes to theories, the main theory of this study is social exchange theory. Holmes in 1958 says, social exchange theory is all about a social behavior called exchange. In other words, when the employee has a good leader, trustful environment, and factors that we mention in the study, such as high performance work practices, financial and non-financial rewards, work-life balance, their level of employee engagement is definitely going high. Therefore, the organization will experience a good team player, as Olokbo and Sofin in 2013, an innovative employee as Arfin and other researchers mentioned in 2019. And also an dynamic employee who is positively talk about the organization when he or she is moving with the society, according to AON Hewitt report in 2018. Those are some characteristics of engage employee. This is the conceptual framework of the study. Primary interested variable is employee engagement, that is the dependent variable, and the factors affecting employee engagement are the independent variables of this study. And through the literature review, as well as theoretical evidence, we have identified or we have derived 6 hypotheses for this study. Due to the time constraint, let me read the first hypothesis for you. That is, there is an impact on high-performance work practices on employee engagement. Let me move to the research method. This is a quantitative study. Sampling technique is non-probability convenience sampling. Sample size is 100 and sampling rule is Roscoe. In 1975, it is in Sekaran's book in 2003, they mention Roscoe's rule. The largest sample should be 500 and smaller sample should be 30 is the most appropriate for the research. And if I talk about the research design, Uma Sekaran in 2003 has identified 6 components of research design. They are type of investigation, extent of research interference with the study, purpose of the study, time horizon of the study, study setting, and the 6th one is unit of analysis. And when it comes to our study, the research design, this first component, purpose of the study, that is hypothesis testing. Second component, the extent of researcher interference with the study, minimum interference. Type of investigation, correlational, unit of analysis, individual. Study setting, non-contrived, time horizon, cross-sectional. And this is the logical flow of hypothesis 1. You can see the research gap type, research objective, and the hypothesis. And you can see the data analysis of this study, and more details you can find our research conference paper. And we have identified based on the data analysis, hypothesis 1, hypothesis 4, and hypothesis 6 has a significant impact on employee engagement. And we have identified there is no significant impact on employee engagement with hypothesis 2, hypothesis 3, and hypothesis 5. And in that case, we have identified there is an impact of high-performance work practices on employee engagement. There is an impact of non-financial rewards on employee engagement, and there is an impact of work-life balance on employee engagement. Actually, those are significant impact on employee engagement. And social exchange theory is the main theory that support our conceptual framework of this study. So management should concern about enhancing high-performance work practices such as pay for performance, symbolic egalitarianism, self-directed teams, extensive training, and regular appraisals. And also, since there's a significant relationship with non-financial rewards, management should take necessary mechanisms when implementing the reward system, as well as management should concern about implementing work-life balance initiatives in the organization. When it comes to limitations of the study, this is a cross-sectional study. And according to Saunders, 2007, cross-sectional study is a particular phenomenon at a particular time or a snapshot. Saunders, that is the view of Saunders. So current research or this research based on cross-sectional design. One reason is the time constraint, because this organization, especially a bank, they are profit-oriented. So they do not allow the employees to spend a lot of time on answering the questions several times. And the future research. Currently, in this study, this conceptual framework or the nomological network, we tested in one sector. And in the future, either us or either other researchers can test this conceptual framework in other sectors as well. To wrap up, today I have talked about introduction to the organization, problem statement, research objectives, literature review, theoretical evidence, conceptual framework, hypothesis, research method, data analysis, discussion and recommendations, limitations of the study, and future research. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Udaya, for playing this video. So I think now because the presenters are not online, so instead of asking questions, maybe we can comment on the based on the presentation. So forum is open for comments.
Marcel, I have one question regarding of this selecting the sample size as 100. What is the logic behind selecting the sample size as 100?
Yeah, actually now there's no one to answer. So that's why we have to comment on only just comment. And so sample size actually now, basically now according to basic statistics, to represent the population, there should be at least the 10% of the population be in the sample. Okay, so let me make some comments. Mr. Asari, are you recording the whole session and sending to the presenters?
Not Asri, from Udaya. You had to ask from Udaya, no?
Sorry, yeah, sorry, Mr. Udaya.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
We
okay.
are sending.
Yeah, Mr. Udaya. So I have some comments based on this presentation. So the one is now for educational purpose, using a term like ABC companies should be all right. But when it comes to publications and presentations, so we should not use that kind of hypothetical name in a title. And then the second comment, so the given title, if I specify factors affecting employee engagement, so this is more suitable for a qualitative study, because now when it comes to factors affecting, no limit. So then the research should be should have been conducted to identify factors. But when we look at the theoretical framework, the researcher has selected particular number of factors. So for that, there should be a justification why the researcher has selected that number of factors, like 6 factors out of, there are so many factors affecting employee engagement. So therefore, the authors have to reconsider the use of the title. And the third one, employee category, it's not clear in the presentation. So the authors should have clearly explained which employee category is represented in the study, whether managerial employees or floor level employees. It's not very clear to the listeners. And findings are not based on the statistical analysis. That's also one area the presenters have to address, because now whatever the finding should be supported with the statistical information. So it was not there. So therefore, researchers have to consider these aspects when they further improve this manuscript.
Yes.
Dr. Sanjeevani?
Yes, Dr. Richard. I too like to add few comments. Actually, most of the comments are same as you discussed in our in the topic. They have mentioned as employees because the level of engagement and the factors affecting to employees may vary from employee category to category. So we had to be specific when we identify the topic, what category of employees we are concerning to identify these factors. That is the main point. And if we discuss about the objectives and the factors, what they have identified, leadership, that means it's a very broad concept, leadership means, but we have to be very specific when we develop in objectives. Whose leadership? May be the immediate superior, maybe the top management, that leadership. Because as example, top management leadership may be okay, but because of the immediate superiors issue or the leadership style may affect into the less or low level of engagement. So we have to be specific when we identify the objectives. Same way, all other objectives may be the another factor that they have identified, the financial benefits. It should not be the financial benefits. For example, we are getting some let's assume 100 rupees, 1000 rupees as salary, financial benefits. It's the same amount, but the way of perceiving others or the employees may vary. Here we are considering not about the financial benefits, but here we are concerning about the satisfaction or the perception on financial benefits gained from that employee. It's affecting to their level of engagement, but not about the financial benefits. So when we identify, we have to be specific. Likewise, all other variables that they have identified, we have to be very specific. And their population was not clear, so we had to clearly identify the population and the figure of population. From that, we had to derive some representative sample. We can prepare different methods to select that representative sample. For example, we can prepare Mughal table or any other method to select this sample. Let's see, those are the main things, and we must wish for them also to continue their studies. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeevani. So let me move on to the next presentation. Paper ID 31, Ms. Himasha, impact of employee engagement on employee performance in tourism and hotel management sector in Sri Lanka. Over to you, Ms. Himasha.
I'm Himasha Bhattadwarachi, a student from the PQ-HRM batch 259 of CIPM. And I'm going to present the research paper 31 today on the impact of the factors of employee engagement on job performance. And it is a study in the tourism and hotel management sector in Sri Lanka. So I'm going to talk about the background of the study, the problem statement, literature gap, conceptual framework, research objectives, methodology, data analysis, hypothesis, findings, and the conclusion. So if I talk about the background of the study, while studying the employee engagement levels and their performance levels in the selected organization, the problematic area was highlighted due to lack of employee engagement and employee performance in the organization. And through this research project, the problem of low employee engagement and low employee performance was surveyed, and it was found out that certain inefficiencies have risen in this sector due to the lack of employee engagement and the employee performance in the workplace. So the vision of this sector is to be the center of excellence in training and education for human resource development of tourism and hospitality industry in Asia. And the mission is to demonstrate excellence through research in tourism and hospitality that adds to international knowledge and connectedness. So if I talk about the problem statement through this research project, the problem of low employee engagement and low job performance was surveyed. And the question was, what is the impact of the factors of employee engagement on job performance in the tourism and hotel management sector of Sri Lanka? So the literature gap. After searching and finding out literatures with related to this research topic, it was found out that there wasn't any research conducted with related to this research matter and in Sri Lanka in this particular field. And after studying the existing literatures, the particular independent variables which affect the dependent variable of this study were found out, and accordingly the conceptual framework was developed. And this is the conceptual framework, the independent variables which comes under employee engagement, salary and compensation, working conditions, communication and training and development. They affect the dependent variable employee performance of this research topic. And the research objectives are, the general objective of this research is to determine the impact of employee engagement on employee performance of the operational levels employees at the tourism and hotel management sector. And the specific objectives are to define the term employee engagement in the context of Sri Lankan tourism and hotel industry and how effective it is in the present competitive environment, in the current environment in this sector, how it is going in the current situation, with the current situation in this particular tourism and hotel sector, and to ensure that the employees of the organization are committed towards the goals and aims of the company, and that they are motivated to contribute to the organizational success, whether they are goal oriented and whether they are contributing towards achieving the set targets of the company, and to understand the capabilities of the employees in the organization and allocating job tasks accordingly. So it is a must to understand their capabilities and assign the tasks accordingly, so then they will be able to perform in high levels, and to overall provide a useful feedback for this matter. And the methodology, the primary quantitative data were collected through a self-structured questionnaire. That questionnaire was distributed among a selected sample of employees, and it was consisting of 25 questions. Qualitative data were collected through the discussions with relevant parties, and secondary data were collected through existing researchers on employee engagement and employee performance, and employee handbooks of the company database, and getting information through relevant health and management parties of the organization by interviewing them, and journal articles and full-length research papers. And finally, the data analysis was done using the SPSS version 25, and this is the results of the data analysis. The correlation test results are shown here, so we can see the values are closer to 1, and can see that it has a significant correlation between these independent variables and the dependent variable of this research topic. And finally, if we summarize the correlation analysis results, I can say that since the value is closer to 1 of all the independent variables, and can be assumed that there's a strong positive relationship between employee performance and the selected independent variables. And since the significance is 0.000 of all the independent variables, and the null hypothesis of no correlation cannot be accepted, and it is possible to conclude that there's a significant correlation between these independent variables and the dependent variable employee performance of this research study. And this is the regression analysis results. So if we summarize the regression analysis results, overall you can say, since the values are greater than 0 and very much higher than its standard error, the impacts of these independent variables are significant towards employee performance. And among these 4 independent variables, the highest variation can be seen with respect to working condition if we go through the regression analysis table. And this is a summary of the hypothesis which was created. So according to this data analysis results, null hypothesis 1 of salary and compensation has no impact on employee performance can be rejected, and the alternative hypothesis 1 of salary and compensation has an impact on employee performance can be accepted. Null hypothesis 2, working conditions has no impact on employee performance can be rejected. Alternative hypothesis 2, working conditions has an impact on employee performance can be accepted. And null hypothesis 3, communication has no impact on employee performance can be rejected. And the alternative hypothesis 3, communication has an impact on employee performance can be accepted. And null hypothesis 4, training and development has no impact on employee performance can be rejected. And the alternative hypothesis 4, training and development has an impact on employee performance can be accepted. Accordingly, after going through this data analysis results, and the findings can be mentioned as follows. So most employees are seen to be not engaged with their job tasks accordingly, and their performance levels are not according to the expected standards in this particular sector. So in the salary and compensation, working conditions, communication, training and development, the independent variables affect the employee engagement significantly, and all 4 independent variables are positively related with the dependent variable employee performance. And with these findings, the objectives were accomplished and the conclusion was provided accordingly. So this is a summarized figure which shows the results of the findings. So it says this salary and compensation, working conditions, communication, training and development has a significance towards employee engagement, and it affects employee performance. This the dependent variable of this study. So this is the conclusion. Introducing a competitive salary for employees in order to retain them in the industry, providing an attractive salary to retain them in the industry and to get the maximum out of them, and to maintain their performance level in high standards. And procedures and steps should be followed to make the workplace comfortable for the employees to perform their tasks. So they should have a clear mind in order to contribute towards performing their tasks in a good level. And effective communication in the workplace can reduce disputes between employees and the management. So then it will give them a clear mind to perform their task. And organizing training and development events to understand the most suitable tasks that relevant employees are good in. So it will help them to understand their strengths and weaknesses and to assign the tasks accordingly, and to get the maximum out of them, the maximum engagement and maximum employee performance, so then they can uplift the industry accordingly. So with the conclusion, my presentation is over. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Himasha, and congratulations on your presentation. And now the forum is open for questions.
Someone has asking a question through chat, Dr. Richard.
Okay, let's see. So question is, what is the sample size of this study, and who are the target audience? Which job category? So 2 questions, sample size and job category selected for the study.
150 operational level employees were selected.
Any more questions? Ms. Himasha, now what's the reason for selecting just operational level employees?
Since there's a number of employees working in that level, and to get a proper answer for my questionnaire, it was easy to reach them. So that's why I selected the operational level employees.
Okay, and if I give a comment on that, actually now you have to have a justification why you have selected particular employee category. Okay, so that shouldn't be because of your convenience. There should be a particular justification, like say for example, lack of studies, previous studies conducted based on operational level employees, or maybe there are some engagement related issues identified with respect to operational level employees. That kind of justification should be there. And now I have a small confusion now. When I read your the title, it's about impact of employee engagement, right? And then your hypothesis also related to impact, but you have tested your hypothesis just by using correlation analysis. Correlation analysis can be employed for testing the relationship between two variables. What would be your justification? Why did you employ correlation analysis for testing hypothesis?
I've used regression analysis as well.
It's also there, but now you have given, you have tested your hypothesis based on correlation. That's the issue. Is there a particular reason?
No, there is no particular reason for that.
So appropriate analysis is regression. Okay, because it's about the impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one more comment. So now when you write the hypothesis, right, it has to be more specific, like simply you can't say like there's an impact, right? So based on the previous research, you have to very specifically say whether it's a positive impact or negative impact. Because now you can find it based on previous research, what kind of relationship exists, right? So that should, you have to address that area. You have to consider that when you go for future publications, right? So you have to be very specific when you give the, write the hypothesis. Yeah, that's it from my end. Dr. Sajivani?
Yes. Masha, thank you, Dr. Richard. You have done a study relating to, like previous one, employee engagement and factors affected to employee engagement towards the employee performance. No?
Yeah.
Yes. Then how you identify those factors? You have identified 5 factors, no?
Yes, after going through some researchers, I found out those factors affecting employee performance.
Yes, but your factors here means factors affecting to employee engagement, no?
Yes.
Topic says it that way, factors affecting to employee engagement. Then what is the impact of those factors on employee performance?
Yes.
Right. For your future studies also, I would like to recommend you, before you are just identifying those factors, you can do a preliminary study. That means like preliminary study, you can interview few employees and identify or judge few factors, and then you can set these type of quantitative objectives to test whether those factors are really affecting or not. And there's another way, that means from the existing literature, we have number of literature, Sri Lankan and global context literature, to identify what are the factors. Then you can judge your based on you and your supervisor's intellectual knowledge, what may be the real factors. So you have to mention clearly under methodology what are the ways you follow to identify the factors. As we just thinking, we can't decide the factors, right? Then other than that, what do you mean by employee engagement?
Employee engagement means how they engage in a particular task provided to them.
Okay, right. So you have to be seriously define what do you mean by employee engagement. There we call conceptualization, right? For your improvement, that conceptualization from other authors' point of view, you can define it. And for this study, you can identify one of that, or you can merge few of them and adopt one definition for your working definition. We call it as work, because that is the key part. Work engagement, you are trying to identify the factors in your conceptual framework. What you presented today, there is a conceptual framework having independent, mediating and moderating variables. Like factors are the independent variable, then employee engagement is the mediating variable, and employee performance is the dependent variable. But in your case, you have tested only independent dependent relationship through correlation analysis and regression analysis. So you have to revise that conceptual framework. That in the conceptual framework means what you summarize at the end in your presentation, right? Their main heading factors affecting to employee engagement. Under that, you can present those factors, right? Then you can test whether these independent variables affecting to the dependent variable, and you have to be very careful when you are interpreting your data analysis results. I think you have to further improve it, especially your regression analysis. And I suggest you can identify find out what is the most influential factor among these factors towards the employee performance. Through multiple regression analysis, we can do that. And I wish you all the best for your future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Himasha.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, let's move on to next presentation. Paper ID 42, Ms. Nilanthi Mathararaji. Over to you, Ms. Nilanthi. It's the topic is about the impact of non-financial rewards on employee job satisfaction of administrative officers in selected universities in Sri Lanka. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Nilanthi Mathararachi, working at the Open University of Sri Lanka. Today, I would like to share my presentation with you to the 5th CIPM International Research Symposium. Let's see the presentation. My topic is Impact of Non-Financial Rewards on Employees' Job Satisfaction with the administrative officers in the selected universities in Sri Lanka. Paper ID 42. First of all, I would like to ask a question from you. Why are you coming to your job? Actually, it's because of you want to earn something through your job for the survival of yourself as well as for your dependents, isn't it? Because today, money is the most important reward. Without having money, we can't do anything. But some people, they love their work because it is interesting and provides them a psychological satisfaction too, more than money. According to Lord Buddha, it has been mentioned that there is no greater will than happiness or satisfaction. Herzberg, in 1996, he described with his two-factor theory, people feel satisfied at the workplace through two factors, which are called hygiene factors and motivators. Also, Morel, in 2011, he emphasized that there is an additional added that significance of both financial and non-financial rewards. He further described where one kind of reward does not accomplish the purpose. It means people like non-financial rewards as well as financial rewards for their job satisfaction. Introduction. Public sector employees are earned less salaries comparing with the private sector employees, even though they had good qualifications. But they won't stay in the public sector. Why? It may be they are enjoying other things in their job than the financial reward, which are take responsibility, obtain achievement, prestige of working in the public sector, like that. When we are searching the literature, there are a few number of research studies conducted with the same topic we can find with the public sector employees. But there is none of research studies conducted with the administrative officers in the state sector universities. Considering all those things from the literature, the researcher tried to identify the impact of non-financial rewards on employees' job satisfaction with the administrative officers in the selected universities in Sri Lanka. Research questions. There are 3 research questions included with this research. One is, what is the relationship between non-financial rewards and employees' job satisfaction? Second one, what is the most used non-financial rewards method for their job satisfaction? Third one, what is the most improved non-financial rewards method for their job satisfaction? Research objectives. The general objective is to identify the relationship between non-financial rewards and employees' job satisfaction. Specific objectives are to determine the most used non-financial rewards method for their job satisfaction and to identify what is the most improved non-financial rewards method for their job satisfaction. Conceptual framework. According to conceptual framework, the selected employees' job satisfaction and non-financial rewards were critically examined through this research. The independent variable of this research is non-financial reward. Under that, there are 4 sub-factors evaluated, which are achievement, advancement, recognition, and responsibility. The dependent variable of this study is employees' job satisfaction. Research methodology. Samples. Using random sampling method, selected 113 numbers of samples for this study. Data collection method. Using 5-point Likert scale survey questionnaire, collected the primary data for this study. Data analysis method, descriptive analysis and correlation analysis. Findings, demographic information, position. There are 55% employees who represent the administrative officer side. There are 28% employees who represent the financial officer side. There are 70% employees present as other categories. Other categories means chief security officers, curators, works engineers, lawyers in the university sector. Gender. Female employees are much higher than the male employees. Females are 61%, males are 39%. Marital status. Married people represent 79%. Single employees present 21%. Age group. We categorize 6 age groups. Among those age groups, the majority are in the age group of 41 to 45 years. Its percentage is 23%. Qualifications. Most of the employees had a university degree. Its percentage is 92.7%. Others had professional qualifications too, 7.3%. Those professional qualifications are AAT, ICASL, LLB, like that. Working experience as an administrative officer. Majority are under the 11 to 15 years of experience group. Its percentage is 26.8%. Working experience. Considering their total length of service at the university sector, the majority are under the 11 to 15 years of experience group. Its percentage is 19.5%. Hypothesis testing results. According to the hypothesis testing results, the nature of relationship in between non-financial rewards and employees' job satisfaction is a moderate positive linear relationship. The value is 0.752. It can be described as if non-financial rewards will high, job satisfaction is also will high. Correlation coefficient analysis. According to this analysis, advancement, recognition, and responsibility motivators are moderately associated with the employee's job satisfaction. The values are 0.569, 0.573, 0.654 respectively. But the achievement motivator is weakly associated with the employee's job satisfaction. Its value is 0.320. Finally, it can say the overall non-financial rewards and employees' job satisfaction is shown as a significant moderate positive linear relationship. Conclusion. I think this research provides a vital information about how non-financial rewards affect employees' job satisfaction with the administrative officers in the selected universities. Results shown that the non-financial rewards are moderately predict with the employees' job satisfaction of the administrative officers in the selected universities. Responsibility is the most used non-financial rewards method for their job satisfaction. Recognition and advancement are respectively significant for their job satisfaction. The most improved non-financial reward method is achievement. Based on this study, it can say the reward management is not just about the money. Every organization can motivate their employees by providing a proper mix of financial and non-financial rewards for their employees' job satisfaction. Key references. I take this opportunity to thank you, the CIPM Institute, who evaluated and approved my research proposal to present this symposium. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nilanthi, and congratulations on your presentation. And now forum is open for questions and discussions. Just giving a start now, let me ask a question about your research. Now, how did you define job satisfaction for your research? What was the operational definition?
Yes, sir. I think according to Lord Buddha, he stated that satisfaction is the happiness of human beings. According to that concept, and after the searching the literature review, I researched what is the satisfaction of employees. Basically, I think it is a happiness at their workplace, what they are doing, what they are feeling about the job.
So is it your own developed questionnaire, or have you borrowed the questionnaire from a previous author?
This is my one, sir. Searching the literature, and also with the experience of administrative officers in the university sector, I think to research this area.
Okay, so if you remember, what are the give us some sample questions like for measuring job satisfaction? What kind of questions did you ask?
Using Minnesota satisfaction questionnaire, some of them I use for this study.
Okay. Dr. Sajiani?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Stewart. Yes, you Nilanti, you have done your study based on university sector. Then, based on your conclusion, can you just tell me, according to your findings, what is the level of satisfaction of this administrative level employees?
Yes, madam. According to the conclusion of this study, 0.75% of employees who satisfied with the non-financial rewards with their job satisfaction.
As overall, how you can conclude whether the majority belongs to satisfied level, that means a very high satisfied, moderate satisfied, or very low level. According to your findings, how you can conclude?
They are moderately satisfied with the non-financial rewards with employee job satisfaction. Other than non-financial rewards, I think there are other factors affect to their employees' job satisfaction.
Yes, you are continuing this study, or is that the part of the study, or what is the background information?
Madam, first I did this research with the administrative officers in the University of Sri Jayawardenepura. Then this time I did with 7 state sector universities, and I hope to develop this research study with all universities in Sri Lanka, as well as academic staff members and with non-academic staff members.
Yes, that means you have changed your sample of the population, and you can expand. That means financial and non-financial. Then you can take as collectively, and you can compare. Anyway, it's based on your research background. Then, based on your kind of findings, what are the recommendations that you can suggest?
Yes, madam. Based on the recommendation, I think moderate factor is achievement. Most of the administrative officers need to improve their achievement indicator through their universities, like submitting the financial report to the government and submitting strategic plans, corporate plans. Through those things, we can achieve more than that.
Yes, Nilanti, and not only that, you can suggest or recommend, they think about their career path. They have very limited career path. For example, legal officer. Hereafter, that means no any career path, may be very limited up to the grade, but no any other career ladder in their progression. So they may be very dissatisfied in that sense. So you can give some recommendations, give some inputs to the different levels, maybe for the university level, maybe for the university grant level, maybe beyond that level. So we have to go into in-depth part, and sometimes they may compare with some financial and non-financial benefits with the academics and non-academics, and you can suggest for as future researchers, even you can continue to do some mixed methodology research or qualitative study to find out some in-depth or hidden areas behind that, because surface level we are thinking they are happy with these achievements. Sometimes the reality may not that. So anyway, I wish you all the best for your research and other personal life. Thank you.
Thanks, madam,
Thank you.
for your welcoming.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nilanti. So Let's move on to last presentation. Paper ID 44, Ms. Sulakshi Kure. The topic is the impact of recruitment and selection procedures towards employee turnover intention of selected educational institutes in Sri Lanka. Over to you, Ms. Sulakshi.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, my topic at the research symposium is how impact recruitment and selection procedures on employee turnover intention. Study is based on the education institute within the industry in Sri Lanka. I'm MJS Kure. Once again, good afternoon to everyone. In introducing my topic, I would like to initially introduce what human resources are. As you are already aware, the human resources are a success to the organization, and also it is one of the key resource within the organization in the process of gaining competitive advantage. With understanding more, human resources are considered to be one of the key resources, as I said, and it should be monitored, evaluate, and take necessary actions within the process of being in the organization and to get the right impact. And if the organization fails to get the right impact, also there's one negative impact mentioning that employee would leave for any reason. They may cause or may not cause the reason damage to the organization. Understanding of what recruitment and selection are, basically within this institute, I have identified high employee turnover within the last recent years, and it has also been impact on their performance, negatively, and performance of the organization has gone down. This is basically because of the process they are following as the recruitment and selection as indicated, identified by the employees of the organization. They are mentioning it is very time consuming, and also it's not up to standards, and information which they are following, information they are providing within the process of recruitment and selection is not sufficient. And also because of this recruitment process at the initial stage, employees not aware of the workload they have to undertake. They are accordingly the purpose of studying of this research within the institute. It is to provide recommendation and insights to reduce employee turnover based on the recruitment and selection procedures. These are some of the independent and dependent variables. I have chosen to focus on the study. Dependent variables is, of course, it's going to be the employee turnover intention. But for the independent variables, I have taken recruitment and selection duration, recruitment and selection methods, applicant attractors, selection criteria. The same thing I have continued for develop hypothesis, and I have developed hypotheses to identify the relationship between the employee turnover and also with the independent variable which I mentioned above. These are some of the research hypotheses I have developed, and in order to focus on the study, the methodology I have been using to get the data is a mixed method, which I can get both quantitative and qualitative methods. A survey and a semi-structured interview was conducted, distributed among a staff of 150 employees, which represents all levels of the organization. This with the gain data, the research hypotheses were tested using the SPSS analysis software. And this is some of the respondent profile I have indicated to you, that is based on the gender and the duration of work, because duration of work of the employee can give a better understanding of the procedures the institute is following. And based on the gender, I have selected the sample of 53% of the females and male 47%. Duration of work, I have categorized for 4 categories, which is less than 5 years, 5 to 10 years, 10 to 15 years, and more than 15 years. These are some of the key findings I have taken up. I have able to earn, and I have been able to prove the proposed hypothesis, and it has shown the data which I have taken, collected, and it has been indicated a positive, strong relationship between the independent variables and dependent variables, and hypothesis tested have become positive, which shows a plus values for closer to +1 value. This is a strong relationship where I can say no, I can't say no for the, and I don't have any evidence to say no, that there is no relationship between the employee turnover intention and the independent variables, especially overall recruitment and selection procedures. These are some of the key findings. Continually, I have mentioned to you. Recommendations provided with the process of the interviews and the semi-structured interviews and the surveys. These are some of the key recommendations employees have suggested. The participants have suggested. You can go through one of them. Most importantly, they have indicated that human resources should have a human resource plan, and the employee should treat her to be happy. These are some of the other factors, and I think my presentation gives you a better understanding of my paper. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sulakshi. So forum is open for questions and clarifications. So far, we haven't heard any questions or comments from the audience. Congratulations on your the recruitment and selection. What's the how did you operationalize recruitment and selection?
Because
what kind of questions
basically,
did you ask from the respondents under recruitment and selection?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Basically, it is like because like the selected organization, the selected institute, the following method of recruitment and selection, what the participants, like for the survey and the interview participants, what they told is like their process is very time consuming. So that is the main reason I chose, because some of the employees, they are not happy within the company, the workload they are having and so on. So that is why the reason I have chosen like those are some of the questions whether they are happy with the workload, the engagement levels of their current within the divisions and all. That some of the questions I have raised with the participants.
Okay, the very basic question. So there's the previous research in this area. So why did you replicate the study? So can't you use the researchers the findings to find a solution for your research problem?
Yes, sir. Basically, I wanted to like specific for this education institute because for give more because when it comes to other researchers, it is basically they have taken for other industries or for other institutes or whatever. So I just thought of taking particularly this institute, and because I have more experience with this institute, and they wanted me some recommendations because I have done like I have communicated to the management that I'm planning on doing something. So they wanted the ideas of the employees because they basically the employees directly don't turn with their questions, their problems with the education institute. So they wanted me to have something and get the recommendations from the employee itself to enhance their policies and strategies.
So it's not clear to us now what kind of education institute. Is it a higher education or the schools or kind of vocational?
Higher education institutes. Sir.
Okay, it's not clear in your study, isn't it? So you haven't specifically mentioned it.
All right.
And then your presentation of findings actually not, you have not integrated your findings with your statistics. So when you present the findings, you have to support your findings with the statistics. Okay,
right.
in the
All
presentation.
Right, sure.
Okay, and Dr. Sajivani, anything to?
Yes, Doctor. Sulakshi, no? Sulakshi.
Yes, madam.
Yeah, Sulakshi.
Study recruitment and selection and employee turnover intention you have studied. First, you have to communicate to the reader or the evaluators or others why you selected. Then mean there should be a high level of employee turnover there. Is that?
Yes.
Then you have to communicate this as figures. Last 5 years, there is an increasing tendency of high employee turnover intention. Their performance are getting down like that. That's why we identify this empirical gap, that mean empirical or the research importance there, right? This problem background, problem issue, we call it, right? Then
Yes,
in your topic, you have mentioned recruitment and selection procedure. Actually, you may have learned these things under human resource management. Recruitment is one part, then the selection is another part, right? In one particular organization, they may follow in different recruitment methods and strategies, and different selection methods and strategies. So you can't put these two into one. That means that is two different. Sometimes there may be positive factors relating to recruitment, but negative factors affecting selection. So recruitment means in human resource management, we are attracting, the way we are attracting candidates for a vacancy. So you have to use that technology, that terminology properly. Under human resource management, in generally we identify as recruitment means attracting, that means hiring. But in human resource management, not that they are attracting candidates for the vacancy. So you have to identify that difference also. And we should, selection is different. That means we are from that identified pool, we choose best or the appropriate person or employees for our vacancy or vacancies. So you have to clearly define these terms at the beginning or in your conceptualization. That's called, again I'm telling, networking definition, right? And when you develop in conceptual framework, you have to clearly identify these two. And another thing is how to get this data from whom, or the unit of analysis, your respondents.
Basically, within the whole level, I mean, at each level, I have selected some of the key personas who
From
are.
employees, no? Employees.
Yes, madam, employees.
Yes, but sometimes they may not aware about their recruitment strategy or the methods, but it's happening before they join into the company. And in generally, still, if they are not in the HR department, sometimes they are not aware about the recruitment procedure of the organization. They may have very limited awareness if they are not directly linked with the HR department. So we have to be very keen on that. And you mentioned you have gathered some qualitative data, but we didn't get any findings or the analysis based on that qualitative data. Have you
Actually, yes, it was not mentioned in the presentation, but it's mentioned in the paper.
Yes,
So
your qualitative data, you can, how you analyze your qualitative data?
With the past research papers, which
yes, in qualitative data, we can analyze thematic analysis, and there are a number of other ways you can follow these things. And anyway, if you are continuing this study, you have to rethink, and sometimes you may have to revise the conceptual framework and some objectives. And I
all
wish
right,
you
madam.
right.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Dr. Richard.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your presentations, very nice presentations. And we had a very fruitful discussion about your presentations. And now we have come to the end. So, Dr. Sajivani, are you ready? Yeah, are you ready for a concluding remark?
Actually, I didn't prepare for any concluding remark. Anyway, I can say we had a very good discussions and some comments, and in your part some answers, in our part some questions, and some development areas. Now you may get some. Actually, research is a very big journey, and you may be at the beginning level. So you don't worry. There are some very serious things to learn. Then if you identify there are more things to learn, that also very good starting point. And you have covered some basic and very other important aspects of research, and your interest also we should accept and admire as academics. You may be in your professional area, so we encourage you to participate for the research, and we would like to support you informally or formally at any time. And I wish you all the best for your academic, personal, and professional life. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sajivani. So I also have to say the same, give the same message to everyone. So all the comments are positive, and think you have to think positive, because now in future, I don't know whether you are heading to maybe your future studies or your future careers. So then take all these comments and go ahead with your future plans when you are in the industry or academia. So wherever you go. So because now the research is a very important component in the corporate sector, then the academia and everywhere. So therefore, let me congratulate everyone for your doing presentations. We had very fruitful comments. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, stay for a while. Before wind up the session, I would request all of you to switch on your camera, including chair, co-chair, presenters, and other participants, to take a small photograph. Himasha, if others, if you like, you can switch on camera. It doesn't matter whether background is. Don't worry about your background. If you are okay, you can switch on your camera. Right. So get ready. So give us a smile to take a photograph. Right. Thank you all. Before wind up the session, so now we have now come to the end of track 1 undertaking session of the 5th CIPM Research Symposium on HRM 2021, organized by the Standing Committee on Applied Research Center and Knowledge Center of the Chartered Institute of Personal Management, Sri Lanka. So before we conclude, I wish to express my humble gratitude to the chairperson of the track, Dr. Richard Vikramatne, and the co-chair, Dr. T.L. Sajivani, for spending your valuable time and joining with us today despite your very busy schedule. So I am sure the comments and suggestions made by you are beneficial for the authors and presenters who joined with us today. So I would like to thank each presenter for the cooperation and support extended to conduct this session on the virtual platform. Next, I would like to invite you to join with the case study presentation session, which starts at 3:15 p.m., which is a novel and valuable feature of the conference this time. So also you are invited to stay with us for the valedictory session, which is at 4:30 p.m. As the name of the best presenters, best paper authors and presenters will be announced in that forum. Please use the main hall Zoom link to join the other 2 sessions. And also, I would like to request Chairperson and Co-Chair Dr. Richard and Dr. Sajivani to remain as we need to find the result of the best presenters after the presenters leave. So thank you very much again for all the participants, Dr. Richard, Dr. Sajivani, and all the presenters, participants. Thank you very much again, and wish you all the very best and good luck for you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Uday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tilak, Nalaka, Sampath, Shiranta, you may leave now from the meeting. Tilak, Disanayak, Sampath Balasurya, Shiranta.
Yes, sir.
So you may leave now from the meeting. You can leave from the session now. Join
Okay,
with the other Zoom link.
Yeah. In the main one.
Yes,
no?
main node. Yes,
Yes.
correct.
I'll come that
Okay.
one. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Sampath Balasurya, Mr. Sampath. Ms. Siranta, right, Dr. Sajivani, where is he? Dr. Sajivani has to connect again. Right. Dr. Richard, Dr. Sajivani, thank you very much for your great support. Other person is from our technical crew, as you can see, name as Kirti Chandra, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Dr. Richard, how can you finalize the result for the basic?
Dr. Uday, now Dr. Sajivani, so I hope now you have your own mark sheet, isn't it?
Yes, I have mark sheet.
Okay. So how shall we proceed now? I have allocated marks. So according to my assessment, actually now paper number 19 and 42 are the potential papers for the
Yes,
best
I also
presentation.
have highlighted 42 Nilanti, no?
Yeah.
Matararachi.
Yeah. And the number 19. So those are the two papers out of which I think we have to select, isn't it? How about the assessment?
According to me also, I have highlighted Nilanti as the best presenter. Anyway, we can decide
Yeah.
as a group.
Yeah.
Yes.
So out of those two, I have given higher marks for 42.
42, yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we?
Finally, we can finalize Nilanti Matararachi.
Yeah. Yeah.
From both of our sides as the best presenter, no?
Yeah.
How many marks you can give Dr. Richard for the content of the presentation, Nilanti?
Content 18.
Out of 18, 18. Dr. Sajivani?
We can say 17.
Okay.
And for knowledge and interpretations, 17.
Dr. Sajivani?
16.
Okay. Presentation. Yeah.
I have given 35.
35. Okay.
Same, 35.
Great. Answering question?
I have given 7.
I also 7.
Time management?
10.
7. I given 7.
Okay. Right. Then so we will select as paper ID number 42, Nilanti. Nilanti, what's her name?
Nilanti Matararachi.
Nilanti Matararachi. Right. Right, Dr. Richard, Dr. Sajivani, then we can wind up the technical session. You can join with us our other sessions if you have any time permits. So
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uday, and thank you, Dr. Richard.
Thank you, Dr. Sajivani.
Yes.
Okay.
See you next time.
Yes, definitely, Doctor. Thank you very much. See you again, Doctor. See you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, goodbye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.